societies. You know, in secret society folklore, it is said that not all humans came from the same breeding grounds. Whites did not come from Africa like modern science would suggest. And this, you know, this is in the upper crust organizations, Masonic, Rosicrucian, the back shadow government high up, you know what I'm saying, on top of the game, you know, that you don't see, hidden in plain sight. This is what they believe, that whites did not come from Africa like modern science suggests, but all the white people, that they are descendants from the Atlanteans. The Atlanteans were said to have blonde hair, blue eyes, and light skin. European languages are said to have common roots to the Atlantean language. In secret society folklore, there's a whole complicated breakdown of race, dealing with root races and sub-races of the root races. You can read Helena Blavatsky's book, The Secret Doctrine. It's from 1888. If you're interested in a deeper look into root races and etc. and their beliefs on that, right? And you know, the educated and powerful members of secret society set up systems of control and superiority based on root race information. They believed that knowledge was power, and a way to keep power and control was to keep knowledge. So systems were set up around the world, such as the one set up here in the United States, where education was used as a means of control. Education, or the lack of education. In the American systems, whites were granted education and blacks were denied education as a means of white control and domination of darker people. The same European private orders and secret societies that held to these root race beliefs established the American colonies. And when chattel slavery was introduced to America, black people were denied education as a means of keeping them under control. So for some 400 years, the masses of blacks were systematically denied education. We're like 146 years from blacks being in chattel slavery, you know. You could just about walk outside and talk to somebody that was a former slave owner. I mean, that's how close we are to chattel slavery. You know, it hasn't been that long ago. Now, they made laws and stuff against, in the South especially, against whites teaching blacks how to read and write and educating blacks and etc. You know, you want to keep them ignorant and keep them working. Whites were subject to whipping and fines if they were found guilty of educating blacks in a lot of states. That's just a fact, you know. Now, some slaveholders, they were motivated by Christian convictions to enable Bible reading among slaves, you know, because, you know, the Bible tells you to be good and to treat your masters good and work hard, and, you know, you're going to get yours in heaven. And that was a good message for the slaves to have, so you would want to teach one or two of them to read and, you know, kind of be a minister and pump that message to the masses of blacks, and, you know, keep uprisings down and et cetera, you know, things like that. In the 1860s, slavery in the South was defeated on paper, but blacks then went through 100 years of lynching. sharecropping, and Jim Crow laws in both the South and the North. You know, from the 1860s to the 1960s, 100 years. You know, the education of blacks, was still not a national priority during the 100 years, which take us right up to the 1960s. Separate but equal education we had at one time. And desegregation, and then we had the civil rights movement and all that. Separate but equal was never, it was separate, but it wasn't equal. The whole battle for equal education and civil rights was a bloody dogfight. During the 100 years from 1865 to 1965, there was a concerted effort by lending institutions, state and federal government, to relieve black people of the land they had gained through sharecropping, and legitimate purchases. According to the United States Census of Agriculture in 1920, black farmers owned approximately 15 million acres of farmland, and 1 in every 7 farmers was black. By 1980, this figure had declined to only 3.2 million acres, and only 1 in every 67 farmers was black. In the early 1990s, there were less than 200 African American farmers in the United States under the age of 25. The latest statistics reveal that the African Americans are losing land at rates as high as 9,000 acres per week. And at the present time, less than 0.5% of all farmers in the United States are black. Now, just recently, like in 2010, Barack Obama signed legislation for black farmers in Indian settlements. President Obama signed legislation that allocated $4.6 billion to settle discrimination claims by black farmers and allegations that the government cheated American Indians out of land use royalties. The measure is supposed to settle a lawsuit by black farmers who allege racial discrimination in the U.S. Department of Agriculture and lending programs, and a separate legal action by 300,000 American Indians who said they were cheated out of land royalties dating back to 1887. They had been ripped off. And, the land grab from blacks facilitated the movement of large numbers of blacks into the cities where the educational process continues to be weak, not by coincidence or happenstance, but by design. I mean, this is urban policy. This is Big Brother's game. Okay?
Yeah.
The powers that be believe that a weakened and unstable minority population is good for the majority populace to maintain its position of dominance. What the powers that be have done is create a for-profit prison industrial complex to complement county, state, federal prisons that are largely fed by minority populations in large cities due to crime and drug use brought on by poverty, which is due largely to the lack of education. And the lack of education leads to the lack of opportunities that provide, namely, employment and money to live on. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got a caller. Looks like it's probably Jim. And underneath in the where we're talking, you should see an orange bubble.
Okay,
if you move it around, if you click that, so you can see when I can send you cues and stuff. It's a little like messenger underneath.
Okay, yeah. I just opened that up. Okay. Conference call.
There you go. Okay, and looks like you got Jim Sopra on the line.
Okay, you want to let him in?
Yeah, he's there.
Hello.
Hi, here. It is so nice to hear your voice, Juan and Debbie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
SJ. This is SJ.
Yes, this is SJ, and a good day to you, Debbie. Thank you very much for coming online.
Thank you. And how are you today?
Well, I'm finer than frog hair.
Okay.
I stole that from Mark Twain.
So what are you thinking about the subject today?
Pardon me, ma'am?
What are you thinking about the subject today?
Well, I was thinking about the fact that I'm glad we've gotten this far with getting rid of segregation and basically victimization of an entire, race of people that have contributed mightily to the wealth and well-being of the United States of America.
Yeah, we kind of got rid of certain things and basically, like we had big riots in 1967.
Oh, by the way, I was there.
Yeah.
I was in Los Angeles working across the street from the gated part of East LA, or Watts, rather.
Well, that was the one in California. We had one here in Michigan right in the 67,
yeah, in
which
Detroit.
is the 44th year of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, were you guys were young, right?
Yeah, I was like 10.
I was also 10.
Yeah. But
what do you remember?
Time,
what do you remember about that period?
National Guard troops. I remember looting, burning. I remember, everything that went on, shooting.
But and speaking about that, I lived right where it actually started, like on Taylor and 12th in the city of Detroit.
Really?
Yeah, and our family was supposed to move from that area to a different area, which, as we call it, moving on up, like the Jeffersons.
yeah.
But
no, baby. Did it turn out to be as much fun as the Jeffersons?
Well, yeah, because we did move on up. I mean, when we say moving on up, it means you kind of went from living in the urban area to living in a more exclusive area. And the day the riot broke out, it was the day we were supposed to move. But the National Guards rolled in, and we couldn't leave our house. We couldn't go anywhere. We watched people just burn things and walking down the alleys with refrigerators. But to incorporate that with what our subject is today, I'm saying this to say that back then when I was in school, we've taken so much out of school. Like we've taken prayer. We've taken God. We've taken the understanding of all the mechanics of what we were learning back in the 60s to these days that really, they're taking arts, they're taking crafts. The kids don't pray. We used to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag every day. They don't even know what the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag is today.
Whoa.
Right.
Major changes.
So I'm saying in urban cities, well, and basically all cities, because I talk to kids everywhere, and no one actually knows anything about that, how the day used to start with I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, for which it stands, one nation under God. You understand that? But they don't know anything about that. So we've kind of taken it away, and when we started taking off the mechanics from the school, it started changing the education system, and it kind of, I think, to me, divided people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this whole thing has, for many years, been engineered